I thought, I've had obviously an interesting life, but I didn't have the kind of trauma or newsworthy event.
Magnum P.I. wasn't just another hit show of the 80s. It became a cultural phenomenon, loved for its tropical backdrop, thrilling action, and unmatched on-screen chemistry. But behind the iconic Ferrari and Hawaiian shirts, the atmosphere on set wasn't always as carefree as it appeared. Tom Selleck finally shares new details about the drama. There's a lot you haven't heard. Who did Selleck secretly dislike at the time, and why? What unexpected surprises happened off camera? As one of the most iconic television series of the 1980s, Magnum P.I. quickly secured its place in pop culture history. The story followed Thomas Magnum, a charismatic private investigator solving crimes in the stunning Hawaiian setting, alongside his loyal friends. Beyond the tropical backdrop and thrilling plotlines, it was the chemistry between the characters that elevated the show. At the heart of it all was the complex relationship between Magnum, played by Tom Selleck, and the sharp-witted Jonathan Higgins, portrayed by John Hillerman, a dynamic that provided both drama and humor, defining the essence of the series. The contrast between Tom Selleck and John Hillerman was apparent not only in their characters, but also in their approaches to filming. Hillerman, who came from a theater background, was known for his disciplined and diligent preparation. He was, according to a TV Guide article from 1985, always on time and always completely prepared. Selleck, in contrast, brought a relaxed and natural energy to the set, which reflected both his character and his working style. These differences occasionally led to misunderstandings or minor tensions during production, particularly when the pressure mounted during long shooting days or challenging scenes. While this was rarely discussed publicly, director Ray Austin acknowledged in a 1999 BBC Archives interview that Hillerman was quick and expected things to run smoothly. Tom was more about going with the flow of the moment. That sometimes caused friction, but it was never anything serious. That dynamic, however, wasn't just a challenge. It became one of the show's strengths. In a 2012 interview with E! Online, writer and co-producer Chris Abbott reflected, "It's those contrasts that made them such a unique duo. You could see it in their performances. Authentic, but with a real underlying energy. At times, it almost felt like improvisation. That's how natural it came across." What's clear is that both Selleck and Hillerman were professional enough to keep work-related tensions from affecting their relationship off-camera. Their shared goal, maintaining the show's high standard, always took precedence and was a driving factor in the success of Magnum P.I. Managing the different energies and approaches on the set of Magnum P.I. wasn't always easy. It required effort both from the cast and the crew. Hillerman's meticulousness sometimes clashed with Selleck's improvisational tendencies, but those close to the production often noted that these differences rarely became unmanageable. According to associate producer Charles Floyd Johnson, in an interview from the Archive of American Television in 2005, John took his craft seriously. He wanted things done a certain way. Tom was more instinctive. The two styles created a dynamic that actually worked for the series, but required balance on set. While there was mutual respect between Hillerman and Selleck, there were occasions where the tension bubbled to the surface during particularly challenging days. Crew members have recounted instances in which Hillerman, known for his dry wit, would deliver biting remarks during moments of frustration. These remarks, though rarely personal, were a reminder of the high standards Hillerman imposed on himself and others. However, Selleck was often able to diffuse these moments with his laid-back demeanor, keeping the focus on the work at hand. Notably, director Alan J. Levi, who helmed a few episodes of Magnum P.I., remarked in a 1998 retrospective interview with Cinefantastique, "You had two actors who were very different, but instead of those differences derailing the production, they added to its authenticity. Their interactions behind the scenes often mirrored the push and pull of their on-screen dynamic. The chemistry you saw wasn't manufactured." Maintaining this balance required a collective focus on the end goal. delivering a high-quality show that resonated with audiences. Despite occasional disagreements about how to approach certain scenes, the professionalism of the cast and crew ensured that these moments contributed to the series' overall success, rather than detracting from it. As the seasons of Magnum P.I. progressed, the realities of working on a long-running TV show began to take their toll. Extended shooting schedules, tight deadlines, and the pressure to maintain the show's high standards sometimes created a high-stress environment on set. According to producer Douglas Green, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter in 1993, being on a hit show isn't always as glamorous as people think. By season 4 or 5, the pressure to keep delivering was definitely there, and it affected everyone differently. Hillerman, who was known for his no-nonsense approach, reportedly began to feel the strain of repetitive shooting schedules, particularly due to the physical and mental demands of bringing his character, the always composed Higgins, to life in challenging conditions. This stood in contrast to Selleck's ability to more easily adapt to the demands of the job. In an interview from Entertainment Tonight in 1986, Selleck remarked, "We were all a little tired at times, but you find ways to keep it fresh. That's part of the job." There were also creative disagreements at times about how certain scenes or episodes should be approached, though these rarely escalated beyond the professional. Director Ivan Goff, who worked on multiple episodes, later explained in a journalistic piece for TV Insider in the early 2000s, John and Tom were like two different sides of the same coin. It's not that they argued constantly, but they would often challenge each other on certain ideas, and that wasn't a bad thing. It showed they cared about the show. This combination of care for the series and differing approaches sometimes created tension, but it also drove the overall quality of the production. The cast and crew ultimately leaned on their shared dedication to the project to overcome the occasional rough patches. Decades after Magnum P.I. went off the air, the series remains a significant part of television history. What makes its legacy particularly intriguing is how the behind-the-scenes dynamics ultimately contributed to the show's enduring appeal. While the contrasting styles of Tom Selleck and John Hillerman presented challenges at times, they also created a tension and authenticity that elevated the relationship between their characters. Reflecting on the show's long-term impact, Selleck noted in a 2016 interview with Deadline, "I think what people responded to wasn't just the action or the Hawaiian scenery, it was the characters. Higgins and Magnum didn't always get along perfectly, and maybe that reflected some of the ways John and I worked, but at the end of the day there was a lot of respect, on screen and off." As for Hillerman, who remained somewhat private after his retirement, he acknowledged in a 1996 interview with the Houston Chronicle that Magnum P.I. defined a significant part of his career. "It was demanding, no question about it, but it's rare to be part of something that resonates with so many people. You don't really realize it at the time, but looking back, you can't help but feel proud." The differences between Hillerman and Selleck, both in personality and in professional approach, ultimately worked to the show's benefit, creating a dynamic that felt layered and relatable. As series creator Donald P. Belisario stated in a 2004 interview with the Paley Center for Media, "You don't always need everyone to think or work the same way. What mattered was their commitment to the story and their ability to make the audience believe in that world. And Tom and John did that brilliantly." In the end, this show wasn't just a product of sunny Hawaiian backdrops and compelling storylines. It was the result of a team whose dedication to their craft overcame any challenges and created something timeless.